Gamification is one of the most powerful productivity methods around. It's used by some of the biggest companies in the world to get you addicted to using their products or services, including Duolingo, Google, and Starbucks. The idea is to simply turn your life into a game, leveling up every time you achieve a goal. That's why in this video, I'll be showing you how to create a gamified goal tracker in Notion that will help you level up in every area of your life. If you like this video, then make sure you subscribe to the channel as I upload new Notion tutorials like this one every week. So here is the gamified goal tracker that I'm going to show you how to build today. So as you can see at the top, we have this life zone section. So these are all of the key areas of your life. So for me, I've got things like personal development, business. If you have any particular hobbies, for example, I do YouTube or I'm currently learning Spanish, then you can add these into your life zone section. And as you can see, each of the different areas of your life will have a current level. And this progress bar here shows how many goals you have completed for that life zone. So the more goals you complete, the higher your level goes. So this is the gamification that I was talking about. So as you watch your level increase, it gives you that dopamine hit every time you achieve a new level. And it's going to help you keep achieving and keep adding more goals for each area of your life. Now just below, this is where we actually have the goals section and the task list. So these are the individual goals. So as you can see, this is a Spanish goal. So it relates to my Spanish life zone up here. So you can see the area of your life that it's connected to, your task status. There is a progress bar showing how many of the tasks you've completed, and also a checkbox. I've got two different tabs here for current and complete. We also have the actual task list here. So these have been grouped together based on the goal that they relate to. So let's just open one of these up. So this is for my Spanish goal. So these are the individual tasks that I want to complete for this goal. So whenever I complete one of these tasks, I can check it off. It's removed from the list. And as you can see, the status over here increases, and so does the progress bar. And once this goal as a whole is complete, I can mark it as complete. And as you can see on the Spanish level here, it increased to 12 because I've completed another goal. And over time, you'll watch the level increase as you complete more goals. I think I've set it so when I hit 20 goals, that's when I'll increase to level 2. So that is the gamified goal tracker. So in the rest of this video, I'm going to be showing you how you can set up this complete system step by step. So I'm starting off with a brand new page. I've just named this page Gamified Goal Tracker. I've added an icon and a cover photo, and I've also made this page full width as well. So you can do that just by clicking on the three dots up here in the corner and just toggling on this full width option. So the first thing we're going to do is add a brand new database for our life zone. So you're just going to type in /database and select the database inline option. And let's just give this a name of life zones. And I'm also just going to click on here, hide the title, and we're also going to delete this default tags property as well. So just hit delete. So this is where we're going to list all of the key areas of our life. So you might want to list things like personal development, as well as any hobbies or areas of your life that you want to set goals for. So I'm also going to put things like cooking, business, and so on. So these might be some of the key areas of your life that you want to improve. I also want to set a default icon for my life zones as well. So to do that, we're just going to click on this downward arrow over here, select new template, and all we're going to add to this template is simply an icon. So you can click on add an icon and then pick one that you like. So you can pick either an emoji or one of Notion's actual icons. So I'm going to go with this circle outline here, but I'm actually going to make it blue. So if you click on here, you can actually choose a color. So let's make it blue and select this one. So it looks like this. So that's all we're going to do. We're then just going to click back. And if you click on this downward arrow again, select the three dots next to the template with the icon and just set it as default. And you want to select for all views. So whenever you add anything new into this list, it will add that icon by default, but for anything already in the list, it won't automatically go back and add it. So I'm just going to add this one manually just by opening the pages and just selecting this template. But as I said, for anything new that you add to this list, you won't have to do this manually. So this is now what it looks like. So just before we jump back into the tutorial, I just want to mention that my new Second Brain template is now available on my store. It's a super advanced all-in-one productivity system. I'll leave a link in the description box below if you're interested. So that's all, back to the tutorial. So that's all we're going to do on this database for now. Next, we're going to set up another database for our actual goals. So again, just underneath /database, and we're going to add another database in line. And this one I'm just going to call goals. I'm also just going to hide the title of this database, and we're also going to delete the default tags property. Now, before we add any goals to the database, I do want to add a default icon like we did on the previous database. So this one is going to be a target icon. So I'm going to do the same thing. Just click on here, add a new template, and let's pick a target icon. but I'm going to change this back to black, and let's go with this one. And remember, to set it as default, you just want to click on the 3 dots next to it and just click set as default. I'm just going to delete these rows so we can start fresh. So in here, we're going to type in a few goals that are related to some of the life zones that we've already added. So for example, for my Spanish life zone, I want to get to B2 level in Spanish. And when I hit enter, as you can see, that icon has been added for me automatically. So I'm just going to add a few more in here. Now, after we've added in some goals, we're also going to add a checkbox so that once we complete the goal, we can check it off as complete. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol, type in checkbox and select this checkbox. And we're going to name this one mark as complete. So once I complete the goal, I can simply check this off. Now the next thing that we want to do is connect these two databases together. So I think it would be a good idea if next to each of these goals, I could select which area of my life that goal falls into. So we can do that using a relation property, which essentially just connects databases together. So we're going to click on the plus symbol, type in relation and select this one. And then it's going to ask me which database I want to link to. So we want to link to our life zones database. So I'm going to select that one. So you can leave these options as they are, but we do just want to toggle this one on so that this also shows on our life zones database up here. And you can just change the name. So I'm just going to change this to life zone rather than life zones. And you can just leave this blank. So then we're going to hit add relation. So once we've done that, as you can see, a new column has appeared here on our goals database and a new column has also appeared here on our life zones database. So these have now been successfully connected together. So if I click on here next to our get to B2 in Spanish goal, I can now select from the list of life zones. So let's select Spanish for this one. And as you can see up here now, that goal also displays next to our life zone, which is handy as well. So I'm just going to fill this out for the ones that we have. So the next thing that we want to do is up here on our life zone template, I actually want to be able to count for each of the different life zones how many goals have been completed. So we can actually use a roll up property to do that. So what we're going to do is click on the plus symbol here, select roll up. And what a roll up does is it essentially just pulls data from other databases. So I need to pull through the data from this mark as complete checkbox because that's going to tell me how many of these goals have actually been completed. So I'm going to pull that data into this database to simply just count how many checkboxes are checked for each of the life zones. So let's name this one number of completed goals. And we're going to start by selecting a relation. So one thing you need to know about rollups is that you do already need a relation property to be set up between the two databases. Now we already did that in the previous step. So if I click on here, it's going to bring up the relation to our goals database. So I'm going to select that one. And then we can select which property we want to grab from the other database. So in this case, as I said, we want to grab the mark as complete checkbox. And then it's going to ask me what I want to calculate. So we actually want to calculate how many of the checkboxes have been checked. So if you select the checked option, it's going to do that. So as you can see here, it's now counting how many checkboxes are checked. So it's saying 2 for personal development. So the only 2 goals that I've checked off here are the 2 for personal development. If I check off this Spanish one as well, as you can see, it's now increasing to 1. So that is working correctly. It's counting how many goals have been complete for each life zone. Now I do actually want this to show as a bar. So if you just scroll down, it will allow you to select how you want it to display. So we're going to select bar so that it shows like this, a green progress bar. So this is going to increase as you check off more goals, and it's out of 100. So now that we have a property here that is going to count how many goals have been completed for each life zone, we can start creating our level system, which is how we're going to gamify this goal tracker. So the levels that I showed you in the example is actually a formula. So we're going to add another formula onto the life zone database. So I'm going to click on the plus symbol, type in formula, and this one I'm just going to name level, as it's just going to display which level you're currently at. And you can click on the formula edit button here to bring up the panel. Now to make this work, we're actually going to be using an if statement. So if you've used formulas within Excel before, then you probably already understand how an if statement works. It's essentially like saying, if this condition is true, then display this. But with this case, because we have actually multiple different levels, we're going to go from level 1 to level 10. We actually want to use multiple if statements. So if you've completed 10 goals, then you're level 1. If you've completed 20 goals, then you're level 2, and so on. So we're actually going to be using several if statements to make this work. So to write several if statements, we can actually use the ifs property. So just type in ifs like this, and you'll see it appear here in the sidebar. So this actually allows you to check multiple different conditions. So that's the one we're going to select. At this point, I do just want to say that I will be pasting all of the formulas that I'm showing in today's video in the description box. So if you just want to copy and paste it straight into Notion, then you can find it in the description box. But I will be explaining how the formula actually works, which I think is good if you want to learn how to create Notion formulas for yourself. But if you just want to copy and paste it, that's fine. You can use the timestamp below to skip ahead, but I am going to explain how it works. So next what we're going to do is I'm going to hold down the shift key on my keyboard and just hit enter so we go to the next line. This is just going to make it look a little bit cleaner. Now the first thing we're going to add in here is our number of goals property. So if you have a look here in the sidebar, you'll see all of the properties from the LifeZone database. So this number of completed goals is the one that's counting how many goals you've completed. So we're going to add that in. So this is going to be the first condition that we want to check. So I'm going to say if the number of completed goals equals 100, comma, then we're going to write what we want it to display if that is true. So inside 2 quotation marks like this, we're going to put level 10 and another comma. So that is our first condition. So it's essentially saying if the number of completed goals is equal to 100, then we want to display level 10 in the box. I'm now just going to copy all of this using Command C on my keyboard, hold down Shift and hit enter to go to the next line, and I'm just going to paste it in again. Now we're going to amend this. So instead of it equaling 100, I actually want it to be more than, so that's using the more than symbol, or equal to 90, then we want it to be level 9. Again, I'm just going to copy this, hold down Shift, hit enter, paste it in, and this time it's going to be 80 and 8 and so on. So you just want to keep pasting this down all the way to level 1. Okay, so I've just done the exact same thing all the way down to if the number of completed goals is less than or equal to 10, then we're going to be level 1. And finally, you can tell it what you want it to do otherwise. So if none of these conditions are met, so therefore if it's anything less than 10, then we actually want it to just be displayed as level 0. So again, I'm going to hit Shift enter, but this time I don't need to input a condition. I'm just going to put 2 quotation marks and inside let's just write level 0. Now the final thing that you can do if you like is you can actually add an emoji in here. So let me just hit done for a second and let's grab an emoji. So I'm just going to go down here, type in a colon like this, and I'm just going to type in medal to grab this medal emoji here, and then I'm just going to copy this. Let's go back into our level formula. So I'm just going to edit the property and again click on formula edit, and just before the actual level I'm just going to paste in that medal and put in a space as well. So I'm just going to do that for all of these. So this is just a nice way to make it look a little bit nicer. It's a bit more fun to have an emoji there as well. So I'm just going to paste that in for all of these. Okay, so that is our formula complete. So once you're happy, you can click done. And if we have a look now at the property, here it is. These are all set to level 0 because none of them have reached 10 goals yet. But once this hits 10, this will change to level 1. Once it hits 20, it'll be level 2 and so on. Feel free to edit the formula as much as you like. So if, for example, you don't plan on doing 100 goals, maybe you only plan on doing 10, then you might want to change the numbers in here for the different levels. So really feel free to play around with this, but this is the formula that I'm going with. So now I want to make this look a little bit better. So we're actually going to change it to a gallery view. So if you click on the 3 dots here, select layout, let's change it to a gallery. I'm also just going to change this card preview here from page content to page cover so that we can add a cover photo for each of the life zones. And we're also just going to click back and select properties to show some of the properties that we've set up on the card. So the ones that we want to see are the level and also the number of completed goals. So this is now what our cards look like. So you can see the level as well as the number of goals. You can also, as I said, add a cover photo. So let's click on cooking as an example. If you just hover up here, you can click on add cover. That'll just add one at random. So you're going to want to click change cover. There are tons of different ways to add cover photos. So you can either upload an image, you can paste in a link to one you found on the internet that you like, or you can use Unsplash, which is a free stock photo library. That's the one I tend to use because it's quite easy. So I'm just going to type in cooking, and then you're going to see tons of amazing stock photos. So let's just go with this one. And you can also reposition it if you want to see a different part of the image. So I'm just going to add one now for each of these different areas. Okay, so this is now what it looks like. So I'm just going to change the tab name here to current for our current life zone. So you can click on here, click rename, and let's just call this one current. And you can also change the icon here as well. So I'm just going to change this to an empty circle. So that is our life zone area all set up. Next, what we're going to do is add a third database where we can list all of the different tasks that we need to complete to actually complete the overall goal. So we're going to add another database just underneath. So I'm going to type in /database and select database inline. And this one is going to be the task list. Once again, I'm just going to click on the 3 dots here, hide the database title, and also delete the tags property as well. We're going to start by adding a default icon for all of the tasks. So once again, we're going to click on the downward arrow, add a new template, and we're going to add an icon. And as I said, this one is going to be a check mark. So let's go with this one, hit back. And once again, just click on the down arrow, click the 3 dots, and just set it as default. So I'm just going to delete these 3 rows and add a new one. So in here, we're going to add a couple of tasks that relate to some of the goals up here. So let's just say that I want to watch a Spanish movie. And as you can see, the check mark has been added by default. So I'm just going to add a couple more in here. So once we've got our tasks in here, I now want to be able to select which task relates to which goal. So again, we're going to set up another relation property, but this time between our task list and our goals database so that I can select which goal each of the tasks relates to. So once again, we're going to click on the plus symbol, type in relation and select this relation property, and it's going to ask me which database I want to link to. So this one is the task list, so we want to relate to the goals database. Again, I'm going to show it on the goals database, and let's just change this to goal rather than goals, and that's all we need to do. So I'm just going to click add relation. So similar to before, you'll see now 2 new columns have appeared, one on each database. So now I can select which goal this task relates to. So this one is in relation to my Spanish goal, and you'll then see that task show up here next to the goal. So I'm just going to fill this out for each of these. We're then also just going to add a checkbox property as well so that I can check off the task once it's complete. So we're going to add another property. It's going to be a checkbox, and I'm just going to call this one done. I'm actually just going to make this smaller so you can just see the checkbox because I know what it's for. And the final thing that I want to do on here is set up a grouping. So I actually want all of the tasks to be grouped based on the goal that they relate to, so it's easy to see which tasks I have to complete for each goal. So to do that, you can click on the 3 dots up here, select group, and then it's going to ask me what I want to group the tasks by. So I actually want to group them based on the goal, so that's what we're going to select. And as you can see, now we have a toggle for each of the different goals, and I can open and close this to see the tasks that relate to that goal. And as these are already grouped by the goal, I already know what the goal is, so I don't actually need to see this property on here. So you can actually just click on here and hide it in this view, so we can just see the task and the checkbox. And you can just close these toggles to make it a little cleaner. Now I also want to be able to see on our goals database the percentage of the tasks that have been checked off in our task list. So if I check off, for example, 2 of these, I therefore have checked off 50% of the tasks. So I'd like to be able to see that next to the actual goal. So we can use a rollup property to do that. So in the goals database, we're going to add another property, and it's going to be a rollup property. And remember, rollups grab data from other databases. So I'm going to grab the checkboxes from the task list using this rollup. Let's rename this one percentage of tasks complete. I'm going to start by selecting the relation. So in this case, we need to select our task list relation. The property we want to use is going to be the done checkbox, and we want to calculate the percent checked. And I'm also going to show this one as a progress bar like this. And this is what that looks like. So for our Spanish goal, I checked off half of the checkboxes and it's now showing 50%. Next, I'm going to set up the task status property. So if you remember on the example, we had a property that says something like 2 out of 8 tasks complete, which I think is really useful. So that one is actually also a formula. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. So let's click on here and add another formula property. So this is on our goals database, select formula. And this one I'm just going to call task status. And we're going to click on the formula edit button to actually add in our formula. Now this formula is quite complex, so once again I will be pasting it into the description box below if you just want to copy and paste, but I will explain how it works if you just want to understand how Notion formulas work. So we're actually going to be utilizing some of the new elements from Notion's recent formula update. So in their new update, they actually allowed you to grab data from other databases without using a rollup property. So that's what we're going to use here. So the first thing we want to do is select the relation property for our task list. So if you look in the properties list here, you'll see the task list relation. So you want to click on that and add it into our formula. So this is like us saying that we want to use some of the data from our task database. So that's where we're going to grab the information for how many tasks have been complete or how many remain. We're then going to write .map like this and open a parentheses. So what this map function does is it essentially is just allowing us to say which property within that database we actually want to grab. You then want to write the word current dot. And then, as you can see here now, the properties in the sidebar are no longer the properties in the goal database, which is actually the database that I'm writing a formula in, but it's now showing me all of the properties within our task list database. And that's all because of this formula that I've written so far. It's now allowing me to grab specific bits of data from the task list database. So it's bringing through all of the properties. The one we're going to use is the done checkbox, because if you remember, we actually want to calculate how many of the properties have been complete or how many are left. So that's why we're going to grab the done checkbox. And we're going to close the parentheses. So we're now telling it that we want to grab the information from the done checkbox and pull it into this formula. We then need to add a filter. So firstly, I want to work out how many checkboxes have been checked. So I can say you've completed 3 tasks as an example. So I need to be able to tell the formula that I only want to count checked checkboxes. So to do that, we can type in .filter like this, open the parentheses, again, write the word current equals true. Close the parentheses. So what we've done here is we're essentially adding a filter to only count checkboxes that are currently checked. Finally, I actually want to count how many checkboxes there are. So we've not actually told the formula to count the checkboxes, so you do have to specifically say that. So to do that, we're just going to type .length, open and close parentheses. So this length function here will simply just count how many checkboxes are checked. Now to show you that this works, if we just click done at this point, if we have a look here in our task status, as you can see, it's counting 2 and 2 of the checkboxes here are actually checked. So it is counting that correctly. So let's just go back onto the formula now. So this formula here is going to display the number of tasks complete. So it would say something like 3. I then need the formula to display the word of, so I can say 3 of 5. So we're actually going to code that straight into the formula. So if you add a plus symbol like this, 2 quotation marks, and inside here we're just going to write the word of, and you do also need to add a space, else there will not be a space between the number and the word of. We're then going to add another plus symbol, and now we need to add something into the formula to actually grab the total number of tasks for each goal. So we're going to now write another piece of code. It's similar to this part, but it is a little bit different. So we're going to firstly add in our task list relation so that we can grab some data from the task list. Again, we're going to type .map, open the parentheses, and then we need to tell it which piece of data we want to grab from the task list. So we're going to type in current dot, and once again, it's going to bring up the properties in the task list, but this time we actually just want to grab the name property. So I actually am just counting how many tasks there are. So you can just grab the name and we'll just count how many name properties are pulled through. Close the parentheses, and we don't need to add one of these filters this time because we're not filtering the data. We just want to count how much data there is. So you can simply just type the .length function onto the end, open and close parentheses, and that is all you need to do. So this piece of code here is simply just counting how many tasks there are in total. And finally, we just need to add another little bit of text at the end. So I'm just going to add plus, 2 quotation marks, and a space. And after the number, I just want to put tasks completed. So it'll say something like 3 of 7 tasks completed. So that should be tasks completed. And I've just noticed that I do need to add one more space just after the of. So there is a space between the word of and the final number. So that is the formula all set up. So if I click done, and we have a look now at the task status, as you can see, I've checked off 2 of the tasks here for the Spanish goal out of 4 tasks. And next to our Spanish goal here, it does say 2 of 4 tasks completed. So it is working correctly. So that is all of the functionality and properties all set up. The final thing that I want to do is just make this look a little bit nicer. We're going to make it look a little bit more aesthetic. So the first thing we're going to do with our goal database, we're going to switch this to a gallery view. So we're going to click on the 3 dots here, select layout, and we're going to change it to a gallery. Firstly, we're going to hide this page cover here. So if you click on card preview, we're going to select none because we don't want any sort of cover photo or anything like that. If you do want a cover photo, then feel free to change this to page cover and add a cover photo, but I'm going to switch that off for now. I'm going to hit this back arrow and we're going to click on properties. So this is where we can decide which properties we want to display on the cards here. So here are all of the different properties that we've added into the database. So the first thing we want to see is the actual life zone that the goal relates to. I want to see the task status, the percentage of tasks complete, and finally let's show the markers complete checkbox so that I can just check it off straight from the card. So this is now what it looks like. So as you can see on the cards, it now shows all of that information. One thing to note is that if you haven't added any tasks, so for example for this goal I didn't add any tasks down below, so in that case the progress bar will simply just not show up, but once you start adding tasks for this goal, it will fill out the progress bar automatically. We're going to change the name of this tab here, so I'm just going to click rename and let's change this to current. So this will be all of my current goals, and again I'm just going to click on here and also change the icon to the empty circle. So because this should only show our current goals, I am going to add a filter so that we don't see any that have been marked as complete. So if you click on filter up here, we're going to filter by the markers complete checkbox, and I only want to see pages where the markers complete checkbox is unchecked. So after I've added that, as you can see, anything that was checked off has now disappeared. I do think it would be nice to be able to actually see the completed goals if you want to. So we're going to click on here and just duplicate the tab, and you can just change the name of this one to complete. And let's change the icon as well to a completed circle like this one. And then finally, we just need to change that filter. So if you click on here, it has the same filter. So I'm just going to change it to the markers complete checkbox is checked. So therefore, we're only seeing things that have been completed. So that is our goals database. Now heading down to the task list, I want to do a similar thing. So we only see tasks that are outstanding. So we're going to change the tab name here. So this one can just be our to-do list. So I'm just going to type to-do. And let's also change the icon to this empty square. We're going to add a filter, and we're going to filter based on the done checkbox, and we only want to see pages where the done checkbox is unchecked. So again, these are just outstanding tasks. we're going to do the same thing that we did with the goals database. So I'm just going to duplicate the tab. We're going to change the name of the new tab to done, and you can change the icon as well to this checked square. And all we need to do on here is just alter the filter. So if you click on filter and just change it to where the done checkbox is checked, therefore it's only showing completed tasks. So this is a much easier to understand view, so you can focus on just outstanding tasks on here. So I really like using callout blocks to add headings and make the different databases separate. So what we're going to do is right at the top, I'm just going to add in a callout block. So I'm going to type in / callout like this. And let's just call this one life zones. And I'm also just going to highlight this and bold it as well. And you can also just change the icon. So let's change this one to this category stack here. And if you want the white background with the gray outline, then you can click on the 6 dots, select color, and just make sure it's set to default background. But if you want to go with a different color, then you can actually select any color that you like. But I'm going to go with the default one so that it's white with the gray background. Now all we're going to do is just place our life zone database inside of this callout block. So I'm just going to grab it using the 6 dots, drag it, and once you see the blue line under the life zone heading, you're just going to drop it, and it's now placed inside of the callout block. I'm also just going to add in a divider between the title and the database. So if you just hit enter, type 3 dashes in a row, it's just going to add a divider, and I'm just going to delete that space. So this is what it looks like. We're just going to do the exact same thing for the other 2 databases. So just below this one, let's just add in another callout block. And this one is going to be for our goals database. So I'm going to title it goals, highlight it and bold it. And you can change the icon as well. Let's change it to a target icon. So the goals database is here. So let's just go back to the current view, and I'm going to grab it again with the 6 dots, drag it and drop it just underneath goals. Again, I'm going to add in the divider. So just under here, let's do 3 dashes to make a divider, and it's going to look like this. Finally, I'm just going to do the same thing, another callout block. This one is going to be our task list. Again, highlight it, bold it, and we're going to change the icon to this checkmark list. And here is our task list. So again, drag it, drop it under here. And once again, I'm just going to quickly add in that divider. Now, the final thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to place the goals and the task list next to each other just so it doesn't take up so much room. I feel like you have to keep scrolling for a long time. So to do that, I'm just going to click on the 6 dots here and just drag this to the side of the goals database. And when you see this blue line appear, you can drop it. And that is essentially just going to create 2 columns like this. So they're now side by side. And if you want to make the cards on here a little bit smaller, you can click on the 3 dots here, select layout, and here you'll see the card size is set to medium. So you can actually change it to small if you want them to be a bit smaller, so then they look like this. I feel like it looks a little bit better because they take up a little bit less room. You can do the same with these cards as well if you like. So let me just show you what that looks like. So layout, card size, and you can make it small like this. So they actually all fit on one row, which looks a little bit nicer. So that is our gamified goal tracker all set up. So you can keep adding goals. You can add your tasks into this database, check them off as you go. And once you've completed all of the tasks and this goal is complete, you can mark it as complete and watch as your progress increases and your level also increases. And that's it. You can check out all of my pre-made Notion templates over on my store, including this super advanced Second Brain template, which is an all-in-one productivity system. I'll leave a link in the description box below. And if you did find this video useful, then I'd really appreciate if you could give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel as I upload new Notion tutorials like this one every week.